Ever observe how certain individuals tackle life's highs and lows with ease, as if they've built an inner and outer resilience that never quits? It's not that they never experience doubt or fatigue. They simply choose to persist, trusting that each forward step brings growth in both body and mind. There's genuine power in acknowledging that a strong mindset and a robust physique support each other. When you enhance one, you often boost the other. The good news is, you don't need any special background to begin. It's mostly about sincere effort, small daily habits, and a willingness to trade a bit of short-term comfort for long-term gains. Some individuals might say they're not suited for intense workouts or lack the patience for mental techniques. However, real strength comes from small victories, moments when you stick to a beneficial routine, push through one more rep, or practice a calmer response to stress. Over time, these moments accumulate. You start to see that by treating your body kindly and training your mind to stay focused, you can handle more than you once thought possible. What once felt like a huge challenge becomes part of your new comfort zone, freeing you to chase bigger goals and keep climbing to the next level of personal strength. First, moving your body deliberately each day can become a solid foundation for building all kinds of strength, both inside and out. Some individuals might wonder why physical activity has such an effect on mental well-being. Part of it has to do with clearing out tension and restlessness. When you work your muscles in a balanced way, your mind often grows calmer, and everyday stress feels more manageable. If you recall days when your energy was drained from worry or overthinking, you might have noticed how a bit of movement helps settle your nerves, even if the improvement was just a notch better. That's enough to remind you that action has a way of shifting feelings in a positive direction. A routine that involves challenging your muscles and then giving them proper rest sets a helpful rhythm. Pushing through that initial discomfort while exercising teaches your mind to see that endurance is possible, that you can do more than you first assumed. It's easy to get sidetracked by trends promising dramatic results in a week, which can leave a person feeling either overwhelmed or disappointed when things don't unfold as planned. A better approach is to begin with what's sustainable, maybe minutes of light to moderate activity. The pace will feel less daunting, and you'll find it easier to track the small steps forward. You might focus on a different muscle group each day, upper body one day, lower body the next, and a bit of stretching or gentle movement to keep everything limber. These efforts stack up over time, building not just physical strength, but a sense of discipline you can draw on for other goals. After weeks or months, you'll notice changes in how you carry yourself. Maybe you feel lighter, or your posture is improved. That subtle shift in bearing often sparks a mental boost too. Like, your mind sits taller because your body does. Some individuals imagine they need hours of intense workouts, but consistency is key, not extremes. When you choose a simple routine, maybe a few basic exercises targeting major muscle groups, something powerful happens. You start to build trust in your own effort, and that trust fuels your determination to keep going. Push-ups, squats, and a brisk walk might not sound fancy, but they lay the groundwork for stronger muscles, improved stamina, and a sharper mind. On days when motivation is low, it's helpful to focus on the benefits beyond just physical gains. Committing to those few minutes of exercise teaches you about consistency, showing up for yourself even when it's tempting to wait for a burst of energy. A steady pattern of movement influences how you view challenges in other areas of life. Each time you push past that urge to skip out, you tell yourself that excuses might show up, but they don't get the final say. Making time for these workouts requires a bit of planning, especially if life feels jam-packed. The trick is to slip them into your normal routine without causing havoc. If you start the day by focusing on one or two key exercises, you eliminate the back and forth later on about whether you still have time or energy. And when the day begins on that note, it's like telling yourself, "I'm making myself a priority." That message can echo throughout everything else you do. Even if you prefer an evening slot, keeping a regular schedule builds momentum. It might help to mark it on a calendar, just like you would for an important meeting, to emphasize that this is a commitment you're serious about. As time goes on, you'll form a habit that feels less like a chore and more like a way of life. In fact, the physical gains become just part of the story. You learn that you can rely on yourself to make consistent efforts. Another piece of this puzzle is understanding that progress can be slow and still be real. You might notice only tiny shifts at first, like an extra bit of stamina or a slightly easier time lifting a certain weight. Those victories matter. They're like signposts that say, "Keep going, you're on the right track." Gaining strength doesn't have to mean endless hours of training. A simpler, steady approach often works wonders, especially if it includes good rest and a balanced way of eating. And while it's important to give your all, it's vital to avoid excessive strain that leads to injury or burnout. Listening to your body, pacing yourself wisely, and having patience can lead to far better results than any short-lived burst of heroic effort. With each small improvement, your confidence grows and the link between your physical and mental self becomes clearer. Along the way, it's helpful to keep a simple record of your progress. Whether you jot down the number of reps or note that you walked a bit further, writing these things down helps your mind see that changes are happening. It's easy to forget small wins when life gets busy, so glancing back at a few notes from past weeks can provide a powerful reminder. You're building something over time, and that reminder fuels your dedication to see what else you're capable of. Each time you recheck what you've written, you affirm the idea that your efforts are paying off, even if in small increments. This sense of accomplishment can ease a lot of doubts, giving you the motivation to push through when a day feels heavy or unexciting. Physical strength is about more than just lifting heavier objects. It's about how solid you feel in everyday living, from carrying groceries without strain to going upstairs without getting winded. As you develop this foundation, you may find that you approach mental work with a bit more grit too. Because your self-belief is being affirmed by tangible physical evidence, if you can handle the discomfort of exercise and come out stronger, then you begin to suspect you can handle other forms of discomfort, such as tackling a challenging work project or having a tough conversation. And once that belief takes root, it's amazing how it colors your perspective. Instead of shying away, you lean in, convinced that even if the task is tough, you're tougher. A stronger body helps keep your moods on more stable ground. Regular movement encourages a smoother flow of energy through the day, often leading to clearer thinking and better sleep at night. When your rest improves, you wake up refreshed and better able to keep your composure during stressful moments. It all ties together. Making the effort to get physically stronger can lift your mental outlook, which in turn makes you more consistent about showing up for your workouts or routines. People sometimes underestimate this cycle, but once you experience it, you see how one good habit can spark a chain reaction of benefits. Seeking simple ways to push your strength a little further, such as adding a slight increase in resistance or trying a new exercise, reminds you that there's always room for growth. This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about embracing the idea that you have more potential today than you might have had yesterday, and tomorrow can be even better if you put in the effort. Over the long run, this approach pays off in both physical resilience and a flexible can-do mindset. Each time you challenge yourself, you reinforce the belief that it's okay to step beyond your comfort zone, a principle that carries over into all sorts of endeavors outside the realm of exercise. There may be moments when you question the point of it all, especially if results come slower than you hoped. That's normal, but if you remind yourself that these daily efforts aren't just about today's workout, they're about building a self-assured approach to life, it becomes easier to stick with it. You start to recognize each session as a vote of confidence for the future, a statement that says, and I'm worth investing in. That kind of mindset is more powerful than any fancy technique because it fosters a lifelong habit of putting one foot in front of the other. When the body grows stronger, the mind often follows, learning that discipline and effort can carry you far, step by determined step. Next, the second way to get stronger physically and mentally is to pay careful attention to rest and recovery, treating them as essential parts of your overall plan rather than optional extras. It's common to push hard and then ignore the body's signals, maybe burning the candle at both ends in hopes of speeding up results. Yet what often happens is the opposite. You end up hitting a wall sooner or later, worn down by fatigue or discouragement, and struggling to bounce back. Real strength grows in that balance between effort and restoration. Think of it as a cycle. You challenge your muscles, your mind, or both, and then you allow them the space to heal and adapt. When you give yourself enough rest, you actually come back stronger with more resilience to handle the next challenge. It's easy to get caught up in chasing immediate gains. Some folks pride themselves on long working hours or nonstop training, thinking that's how to prove dedication. But you can't build a sturdy house if you never let the concrete set before stacking the next layer. In the same way, your body and mind need proper downtime to consolidate what you've learned and to shore up your energy reserves. Without that, it's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in it. You never truly fill it up. A decent night's sleep, a day off when your muscles are sore, or a simple break from mental work can keep you in the game over the long haul rather than leaving you stranded on the sidelines with burnout. One practical approach is to schedule your rest periods instead of just hoping they'll happen naturally. Maybe you decide that after 3 or 4 consistent days of physical effort, you'll allow a lighter day. focusing on gentle stretching or a relaxed walk. This active rest lets the muscles recover without you falling into total inactivity. On the mental side, a rest day might involve stepping away from demanding work and giving yourself a chance to reflect or simply enjoy activities that don't tax your brain too heavily. Some folks like to read, draw, or spend an afternoon in nature during these breaks. The key is to choose something that replenishes your spirit rather than drains it. Sleep is one of the most overlooked aspects of genuine strength. It's tempting to think that sacrificing an hour or two of rest will pay off in extra productivity. But over time, shortchanging your sleep often leads to reduced clarity and reduced willpower. When you're well rested, it becomes easier to stay motivated, follow through on your exercise goals, and manage stress. A decent rule of thumb is to aim for a schedule that keeps your bedtime and wake-up time reasonably consistent so your body gets into a steady rhythm. If you can't get as many hours as you'd like on a certain day, try to make up for it soon after. You'll feel the difference in how your body responds to workouts and how your mind handles daily stressors. It's good to learn how to recognize signs that you might be pushing too hard. If you find yourself dragging through the day, experiencing persistent aches, or feeling irritable for no clear reason, it could be your system's way of asking for a break. Rather than viewing rest as slacking off, think of it as an investment in your future gains, physically, mentally, or both. Imagine watering a plant regularly. The plant needs sunlight and nutrients, but it needs the right balance of water and rest between watering sessions. Too much or too little, and the growth suffers. In your case, if you bombard your muscles and mind without ever letting them recover, you can actually lose ground instead of building it. Recovery techniques can be as straightforward as taking a short nap, enjoying a warm bath, or doing some light stretching that eases tension. If your thoughts tend to race, try a simple breathing exercise, slowing your inhalation and exhalation to bring your nervous system back into a calm state. These small methods might seem trivial, yet they all add up to an environment where your body and mind can regroup. For many people, it's the mental side that proves toughest. A restless brain can keep you awake or anxious, making it crucial to slow down and gently remind yourself that doing less at certain times is part of doing more overall. Slowing down can feel uncomfortable if you're used to a busy pace. You may worry that taking a break means losing momentum, but consider how an athlete trains. Cycles of intense effort are nearly always followed by days devoted to healing and light activity. This approach ensures that when the next burst of effort comes, the body is prepared and the mind is in a good place. Without that cycle, it's far more likely to suffer injury or mental exhaustion. The same principle applies whether you're working a demanding job, studying for exams, or trying to get fitter. Regular breaks and good sleep habits can keep you performing at your best and help you sustain your progress for the long run. And it helps to remember that balancing exertion and rest influences how you treat yourself mentally. If you respect your body's need to recharge, you may find you become kinder in your self-talk as well, realizing you're not a machine but a person with natural ebbs and flows. This kinder attitude can boost your confidence over time because you're no longer battling with self-criticism about not doing enough. Instead, you're acknowledging that discipline means having the discipline to pause, recenter, and start again refreshed. A rested mind tends to be clearer, more creative, and far more open to the idea that consistent, paced effort ultimately outperforms frantic spurts of work or exercise. There's a social aspect to consider. Sometimes friends or colleagues might admire or even push for the nonstop approach, seeing it as heroic or ultra-driven. It takes a certain confidence to say, "I'm turning in early tonight," or "I'm taking a rest day," especially if the group energy is all about going full throttle. But sticking to your balanced approach can show others that strength isn't about running yourself into the ground. Instead, it's about remaining steady and clear-headed enough to keep going for the long haul, steadily climbing to higher levels of physical and mental well-being without burning out. Mindset shifts are an important part of this process. If you grew up believing that rest equals laziness, it can be tough to break free from that notion. But the evidence shows that proper recovery helps with muscle repair, cognitive function, and emotional balance, three pillars that are vital for anyone who wants real, lasting strength. Whether it's a short power nap or a relaxing weekend activity, carving out time to recover can make your efforts during the work week or training sessions more fruitful. You may notice fewer injuries, fewer bouts of frustration, and a more stable sense of progress. The goal is a steady climb, not a sprint that ends in exhaustion. It might help to set specific recovery goals alongside your training or work goals. For example, aim to sleep 8 hours a night at least a few nights a week, or promise yourself a leisurely walk on Sundays to let your mind and muscles reset. By defining these as goals, you grant them the same importance as your workout schedule or productivity targets. That mindset shift makes it simpler to avoid feeling guilty about taking time off. Instead, you'll see it as part of the plan, a pillar of your approach to getting stronger in every sense of the word. Consistency in this balance between action and rest can unlock a deeper, more durable form of strength than any all-out attempt ever could. And here's a final benefit: when you respect your body's limits in this way, you create a sense of harmony that often spills over into how you interact with others. Feeling physically and mentally restored tends to make you more patient, more receptive to new ideas, and more capable of being fully present. Others might see the change too: less irritability, more calm confidence, and a readiness to handle life's twists and turns. Over time, they may even follow your lead, realizing that the healthiest kind of strength involves being kind to your body and mind, ensuring they get the downtime they need. By blending consistent effort with genuine rest, you create a sustainable path that supports lasting growth in both physical power and mental calm. Next, the third way to get stronger physically and mentally is to cultivate a mindset that embraces challenge rather than shying away from it, looking at each hurdle as a chance to learn and grow. Many people feel tempted to avoid anything that might lead to failure or embarrassment, but that avoidance often ends up holding them back more than any stumble would. By leaning into challenges, whether it's trying a new exercise that seems a bit daunting or taking on a task that tests your patience, you expand your comfort zone over time, proving to yourself that you can handle more than you initially thought possible. It's a gradual shift in perspective, where you stop seeing difficulties as roadblocks and start seeing them as stepping stones that build both your physical strength and your mental resilience. It can help to think of a challenge as a puzzle rather than a threat. A person who's hesitant to add weight to their workout routine or hesitant to speak up in a group discussion might discover that the real issue isn't a lack of ability, it's fear of stepping outside a safe routine. Once you identify a challenge, break it down into steps that you can tackle a little at a time. Maybe you start by adding just a small amount of weight to that barbell, or by practicing your opinions in front of a supportive friend before you bring them up in a bigger setting. Those micro challenges build up, and before long you realize you're doing what once felt unthinkable. Each step not only makes you stronger in the immediate sense, but strengthens the part of your mind that says, and it can figure this out. It's important to remember that nobody grows without a bit of discomfort. When your muscles feel the burn during a final set of push-ups, that's where new strength is forged. When you wrestle with a challenging problem in your work or studies, that's where new ideas and new confidence take shape. Yet many folks quit as soon as discomfort knocks on the door, missing the chance to see what lies on the other side. A big part of this process is staying curious, asking yourself, what could I gain if I push a bit further, rather than automatically retreating at the first sign of stress or strain. Over time, you discover that this willingness to explore the edge of your comfort zone leads to significant personal breakthroughs. Encouraging yourself to embrace challenge involves letting go of the idea that mistakes or missteps are disasters. If you try a higher level of activity and have to pause because it's too intense, that's not a failure, it's data, information telling you where your current limits are. You can regroup, adjust, and come back more prepared next time. Similarly, if you take on a mental challenge like learning a new skill or presenting an idea in front of a crowd and it doesn't go perfectly, you still gain from the experience. You gain insights about what to tweak, and you train your mind to bounce back instead of giving up. In fact, a small failure can be more educational than an easy success, teaching you about perseverance and the power of a humble approach. When you make a habit of tackling challenges, you develop a resilience that spills over into everyday life. Maybe you find that a frustrating delay in your schedule doesn't throw you off as much, or that a sudden change of plans is easier to handle. That's because your mind has been practicing how to adapt and stay calm under pressure thanks to the trials you willingly took on. The more you exercise that mental muscle, the quicker you recover your composure when life hands you a curveball. This is one reason why people who consistently challenge themselves in sports or tough projects often seem more unflappable in stressful situations. They've grown used to the ups and downs and trust their own resourcefulness. Another aspect here is setting realistic yet slightly ambitious goals. That doesn't mean aiming so high that you set yourself up for utter defeat. It means picking a target that's a bit beyond your current reach, enough to stretch your abilities without tearing you apart. If you know you can do push-ups, try to aim for next week rather than jumping straight to 50. If you're comfortable speaking one-on-one, maybe push yourself to speak in front of 3 or 4 people before tackling a large group. Each incremental victory builds up a track record of success, and that track record fuels your belief that more significant achievements are possible. Step by step, you climb higher. It's useful to connect with people who share your interest in growing this way. Maybe a friend who can buddy up for a new workout challenge, or a group of individuals who exchange tips on mastering a skill you find difficult. Surrounding yourself with supportive folks who see challenge as an opportunity helps keep you motivated. You share stories of small wins, encourage each other when things get tough, and celebrate progress as a community. This doesn't mean you compare yourself endlessly to others. That can lead to discouragement. Instead, it means drawing inspiration from one another and understanding that you're all on a similar path, just at different points along the journey. Handling the mental aspect of embracing challenge often involves a simple shift in your language. Instead of saying, a sign I can't do this, you practice saying, and I'm going to try and learn what I can, or I'm not there yet, but I'll see how far I get. Words carry weight, especially the ones you tell yourself. Replacing negative statements with ones that allow room for growth can change how you feel about the obstacle at hand. Over time, that shift can become second nature, and your default reaction to a new challenge evolves from dread to curiosity or even excitement. You realize that each time you step up to the plate physically or mentally, you're investing in your own strength and capability. Building a routine around challenge can be surprisingly straightforward. Perhaps once a month, you pick one particular challenge to tackle, something that pushes you but doesn't completely overwhelm you. It might be a certain workout goal, like holding a plank a little longer, or a mental challenge, like reading a tougher book or learning a new hobby. You devote some focused time to practicing this challenge each week, noting how you improve or what you struggle with. When the month is up, you look at how far you've come. Even if you didn't hit the mark perfectly, you probably made progress, gained insights, or discovered fresh motivation. That progress, no matter how modest, reinforces the idea that challenge is your ally, not your enemy. Watching your mindset shift from seems impossible to I'll see what I can learn from this might be one of the most gratifying experiences on the road to stronger living. The same person who once felt intimidated by trying something new could become the one encouraging others to explore their own limits. This is how communities of resilient people grow. One individual at a time decides that a difficult situation can be a teacher rather than a torment. Over time, that person becomes someone others look to for guidance because they carry an air of confidence rooted in the fact they've been tested and found their footing. As you continue to embrace bigger or more complex challenges, you'll start noticing how your threshold for stress expands. Workload changes or sudden surprises might not unsettle you the way they used to because your mind has been training for these moments. You've grown used to that initial jolt of, can I do this? And have proven to yourself you can figure it out. A final thought here is that challenges should be meaningful to you. Tackling something just because someone else says it's important may not spark the same drive. Finding a challenge that resonates with your own goals, interests, or values makes it much more compelling to show up day after day. Whether it's improving your health, learning an instrument, or developing leadership skills, personal relevance matters. When your heart is in it, you're more likely to persevere through the tough parts and come out stronger on the other side. Okay, now the fourth way to get stronger physically and mentally is to pay real attention to how you're fueling your body, recognizing that what you eat and drink has a big influence on mood, energy, and stamina. Some folks see healthy eating as a dreary chore, but it doesn't have to be that way. When you consciously choose balanced meals and stay properly hydrated, you're setting the stage for better workouts, clearer thinking, and more consistent progress in other areas. Think of it as providing your muscles and your mind with the resources they need to keep you going strong. Instead of viewing good nutrition as punishment, consider it a form of self-respect, one that gives you an edge each day. A straightforward place to begin is by adding a little more variety to your plate. Colorful vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and quality proteins can all play a role in helping you feel steady and energized. It's easy to stick to the same old meals if you're pressed for time, but trying small tweaks, maybe swapping a sugary breakfast pastry for a bowl of oats, or switching from a heavy sauce to something lighter, can make a noticeable difference in how you feel afterward. Over time, you might notice you recover from exercise more quickly, stay more alert in the afternoon, and even sleep better at night. This isn't about being perfect every day, it's about making choices that support your well-being more often than not. No single diet works for everyone, so part of getting stronger involves paying attention to your own body's signals. If certain foods leave you feeling sluggish, it might be worth gradually phasing them out or saving them for special occasions. If you find that a certain type of meal gives you good energy, make it a regular part of your routine. This approach fosters a sense of ownership, instead of blindly following someone else's plan. You learn what genuinely suits you. That learning process often goes hand in hand with building confidence. After all, being in tune with your own body is a kind of strength in itself, one that can help guide you through physical endeavors and mental challenges with more clarity. Hydration is another piece that can't be overlooked. Even mild dehydration can zap your focus and make physical work feel tougher. Keeping a simple habit like having a glass of water upon waking up or sipping water throughout the day helps ensure you're not running on empty. It might sound trivial, but proper hydration supports everything from muscle function to mental alertness, giving you a better shot at maintaining that strong mind-body connection. If you've ever felt a sudden drop in energy or battled headaches on a busy day, there's a chance you simply weren't getting enough fluids. Making water a consistent part of your day-to-day life can work wonders for your overall well-being. Being mindful of portion sizes is helpful. Sometimes folks assume that if they're working out, they can just load up on any food without consequences, but your body still appreciates balance. Eating too much can leave you feeling slow and lethargic, while eating too little can lead to fatigue or a lack of necessary nutrients. There's no need to become overly restrictive, but noticing how you feel after different portion sizes can help you fine-tune your habits. Maybe you realize a big meal in the morning gives you lasting energy, or perhaps smaller, more frequent meals work better. Ultimately, it's about finding that sweet spot where you're fueling up enough to power through the day, but not so much that you weigh yourself down. Planning ahead can reduce the likelihood of impulsive choices that don't support your goals. If you know your schedule is packed, preparing a simple meal or snack beforehand can keep you from grabbing the fastest, often less nourishing option on the go. And this step doesn't have to be elaborate. It might be as easy as bringing along a small bag of nuts or making a quick sandwich. When you take that bit of time to plan, you're again showing yourself that your well-being matters. It's another example of self-discipline in action. And each time you see how a small effort pays off, you reinforce your sense of control over your physical and mental state. This approach to balanced eating and hydration isn't only about fueling workouts. It helps keep your mood steady, which can be a huge advantage in handling stress or focusing on any task at hand. When you're not distracted by a sugar crash or nagging hunger, your mind has more room to tackle the things that truly matter. Plus, there's a certain sense of pride that comes from knowing you're treating yourself with respect, avoiding extremes, and giving your body what it honestly needs. That pride can translate into a calmer self-assurance when facing everyday challenges, because you're no longer at war with yourself over basic needs. It might help to experiment with cooking if you haven't already. By making some of your meals at home, you get a better handle on the ingredients and portion sizes, and you can discover combinations that both taste good and leave you feeling energized. This exploration can turn into a creative process where you see how different foods affect you in subtle ways. Maybe you find that you recover faster from workouts when you include a certain protein source, or that a certain fruit gives you a gentle boost instead of a crash. Over time, these observations become part of your strategy for staying physically strong and mentally sharp. Mindset plays a role here. If you think of eating well as a punishment, you're less likely to stick with it. The key is to see it as a gift you're giving yourself, one that sets you up for better performance, clearer thoughts, and an improved mood overall. And just as you allow yourself room to grow in other areas, it's important to allow room for imperfection in your eating habits too. Nobody has an ideal plate at every meal, but if you keep nudging yourself in a healthier direction most of the time, you'll likely see meaningful changes in how you feel and function. It's worth mentioning that while people often debate over which specific foods are best, the bigger picture is usually about consistency and overall balance. Too much time spent worrying about the details can create needless stress, undermining the mental side of this journey. A healthier path involves a general aim for a variety of whole foods, proper hydration, and an awareness of how your body reacts gradually. You refine the approach to suit your own lifestyle, staying away from crash diets or extreme methods that can mess with your confidence when they become too hard to maintain. In many ways, learning to nourish yourself properly teaches the same lessons as a good workout program. Small, steady improvements lead to major changes over time. Each good choice builds momentum and shows you that you're capable of self-control, patience, and dedication. Those traits then spill into other areas of life, work, relationships, personal goals, because you've strengthened your ability to stick with something that benefits you in the long run. Eating well and staying hydrated become less of a short-term tactic and more of a lifestyle, one that supports consistent strength and reduces those random slumps that come from neglecting the basics. By paying attention to what's on your plate and in your cup, you're actively shaping the kind of strength you want to cultivate, a body that can handle demands and a mind that remains steady. This doesn't mean never enjoying treats or never having a late-night snack. It simply means choosing to prioritize your well-being enough to stay mindful of your habits most of the time. When you do, you'll likely notice that your workouts improve, your stress levels drop, and your day-to-day living feels more in balance over the long haul. This habit of nourishing yourself well forms a rock-solid backdrop against which you can confidently challenge yourself in new ways, both physically and mentally. Next, the fifth way to get stronger physically and mentally is to practice calm, steady breathing whenever you notice tension creeping in, using breath as a simple yet powerful tool to anchor yourself in the present moment. Breathing is often taken for granted, but when it's done in a deliberate manner, it can have a surprising effect on both your body and your mind. If you've ever felt your heart pounding with stress or your stomach tightening with worry, you know how quickly an unsettled mind can send your body into overdrive. On the flip side, consciously slowing your breath and easing the strain in your muscles can help create a sense of stability, even if everything around you feels chaotic. This approach isn't complicated. A few deep, measured breaths can reset your mindset and give you a chance to regain control before tension spirals. People sometimes assume that breathing techniques are for a special group, maybe for meditation enthusiasts or high-level athletes, but in truth, everyone can benefit. The most basic method is to inhale slowly through the nose, feeling the chest and abdomen expand, then exhale just as slowly, noticing the body soften. Doing this for even half a minute can reduce that jittery feeling and remind you that you're not stuck in a cycle of stress. From a physical standpoint, better oxygen flow helps your muscles perform more effectively, whether you're lifting weights, going for a run, or simply managing daily life. From a mental standpoint, it brings you back to the present, interrupting the endless replay of worries or regrets that can sap your confidence. In the thick of a demanding workout, paying attention to breath is a straightforward way to gauge your intensity. If you're gasping erratically, it might be a sign to scale back or slow down, ensuring you're not overextending yourself. Conversely, when you control your exhales and inhales in the midst of physical exertion, you often find a steadier rhythm and a bit of extra endurance. In weight training, for example, exhaling during the exertion phase of a lift can help stabilize your core, while inhaling on the way back sets you up for the next repetition. This not only boosts performance but fosters body awareness, reinforcing the connection between mind and muscle, a key factor in building overall strength. In everyday life, it's easy to forget about posture and breathing until something feels off, like a sore neck or a headache that creeps in after hours of hunching over. A useful habit is to pause every so often, perhaps every hour or two, to check in with yourself. Notice if you're holding your breath, or if your shoulders are tensed up near your ears, then gently roll those shoulders back. Lift your chest slightly and allow a smooth inhale followed by a relaxed exhale. This tiny reset can do wonders for clearing mental cobwebs and loosening physical knots. It doesn't require special equipment or big blocks of time, just the willingness to catch yourself in moments of tension and respond with a calming breath. Some folks find it helpful to pair breath work with a short mental phrase, repeating something like in with calm, out with stress as they inhale and exhale. It might sound too simple to matter, but that gentle repetition can focus the mind much like a bookmark that keeps your attention from drifting into anxious or negative loops. In a sense, you're training your brain to associate conscious breathing with letting go of needless tension. Over time, your body starts to expect this relief when you begin your little routine of intentional breaths, which can lower the threshold at which stress hormones flood your system. These breathing habits come in handy for mental challenges, anything from an unexpected public speaking moment to a tough negotiation at work. Right before you step on stage or join that meeting, taking a slow inhale and controlled exhale can clear your head and quiet the racing heartbeat that often accompanies nervousness. This doesn't eliminate all anxiety, of course, but it stops it from skyrocketing out of control. And when your anxiety is kept in check, you're more likely to present your ideas clearly, remember key points, and handle any curveballs with a level head. That, in turn, reinforces the belief that you can rise to the occasion instead of shrinking from it. Breathing techniques align well with practices that aim to calm the mind, like simple stretches or gentle movement routines that anyone can do at home. You could start your morning with a brief sequence, stand with feet planted, roll your neck and shoulders to release tension, then take 5 slow, deliberate breaths. This minimal routine can set a tone of mindfulness that follows you throughout the day, making it easier to catch moments when frustration or overexertion begins to build. Rather than getting swept away by stress, you have a tool you can call on anytime, anywhere, whether you're in line at the store or right in the middle of a heated discussion. A neat side effect of regularly practicing mindful breathing is that you learn a bit more about how your emotions play out in your body. You might start to notice that certain types of thoughts trigger shallow breathing, which in turn raises your level of tension. By catching that physical sign, you have an early warning system telling you it's time to take a few slow breaths or reevaluate your train of thought. In doing so, you effectively cut off the cascade of stress before it spirals. This awareness offers a valuable sense of control. No longer are you simply reacting to every shift in mood or situation without a strategy. Some people worry that focusing too much on the breath might distract them from their workout or daily life, but over time, the focus becomes almost second nature. You won't have to consciously count every inhale and exhale. Instead, you'll develop a smoother, more efficient breathing pattern that supports better movement and clearer thinking automatically. Imagine it like learning how to drive a car. At first, you pay close attention to every mirror, turn signal, and speedometer reading, but eventually it becomes part of your natural flow, freeing your mind to handle the road with more ease. If you want a slightly more structured approach, you might try something known as box breathing, or a relaxed variation of it. You breathe into a slow count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, then hold again for 4. It's a simple exercise often used by people who need to stay calm under pressure. While you don't have to make this your go-to technique, it's a decent option if you find yourself in a tense moment and need a quick mental focus. Again, the main theme here is that you're choosing to engage with your breath as a tool, not just a background function that happens without your involvement. Over time, improved breathing can help with workouts by boosting endurance and enabling you to manage muscle fatigue better. You might notice you can knock out a few more reps or run just a bit farther before feeling wiped out. Mentally, that extra stamina tends to translate into a steady, confident attitude. Instead of thinking, shit, this is too hard, your mind shifts toward, let's take another breath and see if I can do one more. That is precisely the type of mindset that fosters not only physical gains, but psychological grit. It's possible you'll run into days when the stress is more intense or the workout is particularly challenging, and your usual breathing tricks might not feel like they're working as smoothly. That's okay. Like any skill, breath control gets better with practice, and there will be moments of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The key is not to abandon the practice, but to trust that these slower days are part of the process. Over the long haul, you're still teaching your nervous system a more balanced way to respond to tension. If you keep at it, even imperfectly, you'll soon spot small signs that it's having a positive effect. Perhaps you calm down faster after a workout, or notice your frustration level dropping quicker than before in stressful situations. One helpful reminder is that your breath is always with you. No matter what's going on or where you are, you don't have to buy anything special or follow a rigid timetable. Even a single conscious breath can be a game changer in the middle of a heated moment. If you think about it, that's pretty powerful, a free, ever-present resource to regulate your physical and mental states. By making the most of that resource, you lay down a foundation for self-control, resilience, and a kind of grounded strength that people notice. Over time, your default becomes a more composed way of handling both the physical demands of exercise and the mental demands of daily life, freeing you to move toward your goals with steady confidence. Next, the 7th way to get stronger physically and mentally is to establish meaningful goals and review them frequently, making sure you have a clear vision of what you're aiming for and a steady reminder of why it matters. A person without a target can wind up feeling lost or unmotivated no matter how disciplined they try to be day to day. By setting your sights on a specific objective, maybe increasing your lifting capacity by a certain weight or mastering a challenging skill at work, you create a sense of direction and purpose. This clarity helps you stay focused and motivated, even when faced with obstacles or setbacks. Having a clear goal allows you to measure your progress and make adjustments as needed. It provides a benchmark against which you can evaluate your efforts and celebrate your achievements. Without a goal, it's easy to lose sight of why you're putting in the effort in the first place. Setting goals also helps you prioritize your time and energy. When you know what you're working toward, you can allocate your resources more effectively and avoid getting sidetracked by less important tasks or distractions. This focus can lead to greater efficiency and productivity, both in your physical training and in other areas of your life. Moreover, achieving goals boosts your confidence and self-esteem. Each time you reach a milestone, you gain a sense of accomplishment and pride in your abilities. This positive reinforcement can motivate you to set even higher goals and continue pushing yourself to new heights. Goals also provide a sense of structure and routine. When you have a clear objective in mind, you can create a plan of action and stick to it, even when faced with challenges or obstacles. This consistency can help you build habits and disciplines that support your long-term success. In addition, setting goals can help you stay accountable to yourself and others. When you share your goals with friends, family, or colleagues, you create a support system that can encourage you and hold you accountable to your commitments. This accountability can be a powerful motivator, helping you stay on track and persevere through difficult times. Finally, goals give you a sense of purpose and meaning. When you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, you can align your actions and decisions with that vision, creating a sense of coherence and direction in your life. This sense of purpose can be a powerful source of motivation and fulfillment, helping you stay focused and committed to your goals over the long term. You assign each endeavor a goal that fuels both your physique and your intellect. This direction can differentiate between wandering through habits and actively pursuing a purpose. It ignites a spark within you, guiding your aspirations, a constant reminder of its significance. Without a clear aim, one might feel aimless or uninspired. Regardless of daily discipline, setting your sights on a specific target, like increasing your lifting capacity or mastering a challenging work skill, gives each effort a purpose that fuels both your body and your mind. This sense of direction can distinguish between drifting through routines and actively striving for something. It sparks an inner drive. A useful strategy is to set goals at various levels: short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Short-term goals keep you motivated weekly, while longer-term aims remind you of the broader vision you're building. Perhaps your short-term goal is to complete an exercise without pausing. Your mid-term goal might be to maintain a healthier routine for 3 months. Your long-term goal could be to finish an endurance event or achieve a significant milestone in your field. Structuring it this way lets you see how small steps contribute to larger achievements, which can be incredibly invigorating. When faced with daily challenges, documenting these goals often boosts commitment. Putting pen to paper or using any preferred method makes a goal feel more tangible. It provides a reference point to revisit when motivation wanes. If you feel stuck or tired, reading your own words about your aspirations can reignite your initial determination. That's a simple yet powerful trick because motivation fluctuates. When it dips, having a reminder can sustain you until it rebounds. It's wise to set goals that align with your true values rather than external expectations. If your heart isn't in it, you'll likely struggle to find the willpower to continue. Once initial excitement fades, suppose a friend insists on a certain athletic milestone, but your real passion lies in improving posture and overall health. You might find that focusing on a more personally meaningful target keeps you motivated in the long run. The more your goal resonates with your interests and sense of purpose, the stronger your drive becomes. Clarity is key here. A goal like "I want to get in shape" might be too vague to guide your actions effectively, but "I want to run 3 miles without stopping by the end of the month" gives you a specific target to work toward. You can measure your progress and plan your sessions accordingly, maybe running a bit farther each week until you reach that goal. In a mental or professional context, T9 want to handle pressure better at work could be sharpened into "I plan to finish tasks with fewer last-minute rushes by scheduling my week more carefully." These tangible goals are much easier to track and adjust than broad, hazy aims. As you work on a well-defined goal, consider breaking it down into manageable steps that you can celebrate along the way. If the objective is big, it can feel intimidating at first, like staring up at a towering mountain. But if you map out checkpoints, each within reasonable reach, you'll create a sense of progression and accomplishment. If you aim to add a certain weight to your squat or master an advanced yoga pose, note smaller increments or simpler variations you can achieve before hitting the final mark. Each time you pass one of these little milestones, you prove to yourself that success is possible, fueling even more confidence for the next phase. Reviewing your goals periodically isn't just about celebrating successes. It means honestly assessing what's working and what isn't, then adjusting your approach accordingly. Maybe you discover that morning workouts consistently feel better for you than evening sessions, or that a certain study schedule helps you retain information more efficiently. Adjust your methods based on these insights. This sort of flexibility keeps you on a path of steady improvement rather than sticking rigidly to a routine that might not be yielding the best results. In doing so, you cultivate both patience and creativity, 2 traits that bolster your physical and mental resilience. External accountability can be a useful boost. Sharing your goals with a supportive friend or mentor creates an extra layer of commitment. If you know someone's going to ask about your progress, you're more likely to stay consistent. but choose people who genuinely wish you success rather than those who might belittle your efforts. Negativity from others can derail you if you're not careful. On the flip side, encouragement and constructive feedback from someone rooting for you can help you push past rough spots when self-motivation dips. As you make progress, you may notice a ripple effect in other parts of life. Succeeding in one area, such as hitting a new personal record in your exercise routine, can make you more eager to tackle fresh challenges elsewhere. It's that sense of, if I can do this, what else might be possible? Confidence and momentum build upon each other, driving you to keep pushing for growth. Over time, you transition from a mindset of simply reacting to life's demands to one of proactive goal setting and achievement. It's fine to modify or even replace a goal if it no longer fits your evolving priorities. Strength, both physical and mental, relies on staying adaptable. The aim is progress, not rigid adherence to an outdated target. If you discover a new passion or realize your original goal wasn't quite right, feel free to shift. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're attentive to your own growth and are adjusting course to stay aligned with what genuinely moves you forward. The important thing is that you remain purposeful, always having a reason behind your training, your studies, or whatever challenges you've chosen. At the end of the day, clearly defined goals act like a compass. They keep you pointed towards something meaningful, helping you muster that extra bit of effort when you'd otherwise be tempted to give in. They transform ordinary routines into building blocks for something greater and offer a sense of direction that your mind can rally around, making it easier to stay disciplined, handle obstacles, and bounce back from setbacks. By looking back occasionally, maybe once a month, and noting how far you've come, you reinforce the idea that your discipline is yielding results. That sense of accomplishment, in turn, builds more confidence and momentum, fueling a steady climb toward an ever-improving version of yourself. Okay, now, the eighth way to get stronger physically and mentally is to surround yourself with people who encourage your progress, as well as an environment that supports your daily efforts. If you're consistently around folks who dismiss your ambitions or tempt you to abandon your good habits, it's like trying to walk upstream with a heavy load on your back. On the other hand, when your circle includes mentors, friends, or family members who cheer you on and hold you accountable, it becomes much easier to stick to your plans. Even a single ally who shares your enthusiasm can make a huge difference, offering that extra spark of motivation when your own excitement flickers. The environment itself can be as crucial as the people. Things like having a space set aside for exercise or personal reflection, or keeping tools and reminders visible so you don't lose track of your goals, can help you maintain momentum. It's your daily efforts. If you're consistently around folks who dismiss your ambitions or tempt you to abandon your good habits, it's like trying to walk upstream with a heavy load on your back. On the other hand, when your circle includes mentors, friends, or family members who cheer you on and hold you accountable, it becomes much easier to stick to your plans. Even a single ally who shares your enthusiasm can make a huge difference, offering that extra spark of motivation when your own excitement flickers. The environment itself can be as crucial as the people. Things like having a space set aside for exercise or personal reflection, or keeping tools and reminders visible so you don't lose track of your goals, can help you maintain momentum. It's common for individuals to feel isolated in their journey, especially if their existing social circle doesn't share the same aspirations. If that's the case, it might be worth seeking out community groups, clubs, or even an informal meetup with others who have similar aims, such as improving their fitness, learning a skill, or pursuing a challenging project. These connections don't need to be grand or formal. A neighbor who meets you for a morning run can make a routine more enjoyable. A coworker who's interested in mental resilience can become a sounding board for ideas about staying calm under pressure. When you share a goal, you share the bumps along the way too, and that mutual understanding can lighten the load. Support isn't merely about receiving praise. Sometimes it's about constructive challenge, like a friend calling you out in a caring way if you're slacking off. That honest feedback can be a gift, helping you catch yourself before small lapses become bigger setbacks. However, you need to be open to hearing it without becoming defensive. If you keep in mind that these folks genuinely want you to succeed, their critical observations can be as valuable as any compliment. In fact, learning how to accept helpful critique and adapt is a key part of growing stronger, both mentally and physically. You begin to see that feedback isn't an attack, it's a sign someone cares enough about you and your goals to offer a nudge in the right direction. That's where the environment ties in. If your surroundings are cluttered or distracting, it's easy to lose focus or find excuses not to train, study, or do whatever else you set out to do. But if you organize your space to fit your objectives, you're removing barriers and making it simpler to follow through. For example, if you plan to do some stretching in the morning, Leaving a mat out the night before acts as a visual cue, so it's the first thing you see when you wake up. If you're aiming to improve your mental game through reading or quiet practice, having a tidy corner with a comfortable chair and a little light can turn that practice from a chore into a routine you look forward to. The key is to reduce friction between intention and action. Sometimes it helps to have a quick conversation with the people who share your home or workspace, letting them know about your goals and the space or time you'd like to protect. If they understand how important it is for you to have that small window of uninterrupted focus, they might be more inclined to respect it. It can feel awkward to ask for this at first, but think of it as setting healthy boundaries that support your well-being. In many cases, people actually appreciate the clarity. When they know you're serious, they often do what they can to support you, or at least avoid getting in your way. On the flip side, keep an eye out for influences that undercut your efforts. It might be a friend who consistently belittles your achievements, or a colleague who insists you join them in habits that don't align with your health goals. You don't necessarily have to cut all ties, but it's wise to limit how much their negative stance impacts you. This could mean meeting such people in contexts where your goals aren't the focus, or gently steering conversations away from topics where you know their negativity might weigh you down. Over time, if you keep consistent with your chosen path, they might even begin to respect or at least accept what you're doing. Finding or creating a support system might mean looking for inspiration beyond your immediate circle. You can find role models through reading, listening, or attending talks, whatever feeds your motivation and equips you with fresh insights. While direct personal contact is often best, sometimes learning from the experiences of people you admire can spark ideas that keep you going. Sometimes hearing about someone who overcame a difficult injury might encourage you to be more patient, yet persistent with your own setbacks. Not all heroes have to be people you know personally. They can still serve as a guiding example of what's possible when you stick to your convictions. The environment includes your mental environment, what you let in through media or everyday conversations. If everything you read or watch is filled with negativity, it's no surprise that negativity might creep into your self-talk. Conversely, if you gravitate toward uplifting stories or educational material that supports your aims, you reinforce the mindset you want to nurture. It's about being selective, not closing yourself off entirely, but choosing resources and discussions that help you build rather than tear down the strength you're cultivating. Even with a supportive network, remember that the responsibility still lies with you. Your friends can cheer you on, your family can respect your space, and your environment can be arranged for success. But ultimately, you have to take the actions that move you forward. In this way, supportive surroundings make it easier for you to do your part, but they can't do it for you. Recognizing this balance, leaning on others without relying on them to carry you, is part of the maturity that comes with increasing mental and physical strength. You aim to build an environment that sets you up for success, yet you remain accountable, knowing your progress is in your hands. Over time, you may find yourself becoming a supportive figure for others too. As you gain experience and confidence, you can pass along tips, encouragement, and empathy to those just starting out. That generosity often circles back, reinforcing your own journey. When you teach or support someone else, you solidify the lessons you've learned and remind yourself why you took these steps in the first place. A community built on mutual support can be remarkably strong, lifting each other through plateaus and celebrating each other's breakthroughs. It transforms the whole experience of getting stronger into something shared and meaningful rather than a solitary battle. In the end, this combination of supportive relationships and a thought-out physical environment paves the way for a more consistent, sustainable climb toward your goals. You won't have to wrestle with friction at every turn, and you'll have allies to lean on when the climb is steep. That sense of belonging to a network of people or simply a well-structured space can ease the mental load and help you apply your energy where it really matters. And as you see these efforts come together, both your body and your spirit benefit, proving that the path to strength is rarely walked alone, nor is it laid out in chaos. Instead, it's guided by the connections and conditions you help cultivate, one choice at a time. Next, the ninth way to get stronger physically and mentally is to develop a healthy sense of competition, one that drives you to push your limits without letting comparison to others overshadow your own growth. There's a balance here. Competition can be a fantastic motivator, but it can derail your confidence if it becomes all about measuring your worth by someone else's accomplishments. When competition is channeled effectively, it spurs you to try a bit harder, to approach each challenge with a spirit of, I wonder how much more I can do, rather than, I have to beat that person or I'm nothing. A lot of folks stumble because they get caught up in comparing themselves to those far ahead or those who have different circumstances. A more productive approach is to let others' achievements inspire you to improve but not define your self-esteem. One way to find this balance is by competing mainly against your past self, That might mean aiming to complete a task faster than you did before, lift a bit more weight, or remain calmer in a stressful situation than you did last week. The value in this mindset is that it keeps you focused on steady self-improvement rather than chasing some external benchmark that may not even align with your goals. If you see a friend excel at something, you can admire their skill and maybe pick up some tips, but ultimately your true opponent is the old version of you, the one who had yet to develop certain strengths or insights. This perspective frames competition as a positive force rather than a source of anxiety or envy. In scenarios where direct comparison is unavoidable, maybe in sports or a work setting, try to maintain a broader outlook. Sure, someone might be faster or more experienced, but that doesn't erase your progress or the unique strengths you bring. If you use the presence of a more advanced rival to study their techniques or notice what habits make them effective, you transform what could be a discouraging contrast into a learning opportunity. Their success becomes a hint about what's possible and might even motivate you to refine your methods. Over time, this mindset keeps competition healthy. It's a tool for growth rather than an excuse to beat yourself up. It's helpful to set specific personal goals within any competitive environment. You know, if you're in a group fitness class where others might be lifting heavier or sprinting faster, decide on a personal target that feels challenging but achievable for you. Then each session, aim to get closer to that target regardless of how it stacks up against the person next to you. This does two things. It protects you from feeling inadequate if someone is far ahead, and it helps you celebrate your own milestones. Competition in this sense becomes a shared endeavor. Everyone is pushing themselves, but your focus remains on your lane. You can even find camaraderie with those around you, cheering each other on rather than slipping into silent comparisons that breed resentment. When harnessing competition, it's wise to remain mindful of ego. Pushing yourself purely to brag or to prove worth can lead to reckless decisions, such as overtraining or refusing to ask for help when you need it. True confidence comes from steady, honest effort, not from putting on a show or tearing others down. If you find yourself feeling desperate for validation from winning, it may be a cue to step back and revisit your deeper reasons for wanting to get stronger, faster, or more resilient. Sometimes refocusing on the personal benefits, better health, more stamina, deeper self-trust helps you realign your competitive drive in a healthy direction. It's possible to enjoy friendly rivalry without negativity. Think of how teammates in a sport can push each other to perform better while still celebrating each other's achievements. You can do the same in a workout group or study circle, keeping the mood supportive. Maybe you and a friend set up a monthly challenge. Who can read more pages of a difficult book, or who can shave more seconds off a running time. The key is mutual respect. You both understand that the real goal is to improve, not to inflate one person's ego. This kind of collaboration can spark excitement and help you power through days when motivation runs low because you know someone else is right there alongside you, facing a similar push. Another angle is visualizing competition as a teacher. If you lose a match or fail to reach a certain benchmark compared to others, it's not the end of your story. It's an opportunity to see where you can grow. Maybe you discover a weakness in your endurance or realize that you lack certain techniques. That failure or shortfall becomes data guiding your next steps. In fact, some of the most committed people out there find that early setbacks fuel their drive to practice more intelligently and come back stronger. They aren't crushed by not being the best right away because they understand growth is a process, not a one-time event. This viewpoint reduces the fear of looking bad and replaces it with curiosity and determination. Shifting your outlook from a win-lose frame to a constant improvement frame can revolutionize how you engage in competition. Instead of thinking, "Sai must win," or "I'm worthless," you might tell yourself, "Sai aim to give my absolute best, see where I land, and learn from that." When you focus on the journey rather than the single outcome of a contest, you're more likely to keep pushing even if results aren't immediate. And in many cases, those who stick to steady improvement ultimately end up performing better than those who rely on quick bursts of effort driven by ego. That's because slow and steady tends to refine skills, strengthen mindset, and build durability, both mentally and physically. Competition can be internal in a day-to-day sense, like competing with yourself to be more productive in the morning, or challenging yourself to stay calm when an unexpected annoyance crops up. These might not sound like competitions in the traditional sense, but framing them as small challenges can help you stay engaged. Maybe you say, "On yesterday, I allowed that rude comment to ruin half my day. Today, my challenge is to let it roll off me within minutes." That shift in perspective can lead to breakthroughs in how you handle stress, making you mentally tougher and ready to face bigger hurdles down the line. Humility is vital in healthy competition. Recognize that there will always be someone stronger, faster, or more skilled in some aspect. Once you accept that, you can compete without the burden of proving you're the absolute best in everything. Instead, you can channel energy into being the best version of yourself you can be while staying open to learning from those ahead of you. This humility actually boosts your mental strength because it frees you from the rigid mindset that equates self-worth with being no. It fosters better relationships since you can admire and cooperate with others without feeling threatened. In practical terms, a good start might be setting a weekly mini challenge for yourself, perhaps on Monday. You decide you'll try to add a small increase in your workout routine or maintain focus for a longer stretch at work than you did last Monday. Keep track of how it goes. Did you achieve it? If yes, celebrate that win. If no, assess why rather than feeling defeated. Take note of what slowed you down. Was it energy levels? Was it technique? Or was it simple procrastination? Then plan a fix for next time. Over months of doing this, you'll see those mini challenges add up to a solid foundation of resilience, and each small victory can feel a healthy sense of pride, reminding you that improvement is always possible if you put in the right kind of effort. In the broader picture, this approach to competition shapes a balanced mindset, one where striving to do better becomes a positive, ongoing pursuit rather than a harsh measure of your overall worth. You learn to welcome a bit of rivalry, whether with yourself or others, as a tool for discovery and motivation. You learn that every time you come up short, it's not a defeat, it's a detour that points you toward how you can refine your actions. Over time, your physical abilities increase because you're regularly challenging them, and your mental toughness grows because you're challenging your mindset too. That dual growth, rooted in a balanced form of competition, paves the way for continued progress and a sense of satisfaction that goes far beyond a single victory or defeat. Next, the 10th way to get stronger physically and mentally is to keep honoring consistency, making your efforts part of a lasting routine rather than a temporary push. Plenty of people commit to big changes for a few days or weeks, then lose steam when the excitement fades. The real magic happens when you stick with something long enough for it to become second nature. This doesn't mean you have to maintain a perfect record. It means recognizing that small, steady actions add up over time, ultimately delivering results that bursts of enthusiasm rarely match. Each time you show up, whether it's for a workout, a practice session, or a personal development routine, you're casting a vote for the identity you're building, a person who can be relied upon to do what's needed even when nobody's watching. It's useful to adopt a no 0 days concept, meaning you do at least one thing that moves you forward each day, however minor. Maybe you do only minutes of exercise instead of the full session you planned, or you review just a page or two of material when you intended to study for an hour. Instead of berating yourself for not hitting your ideal target, you acknowledge that you still kept the momentum alive. This approach guards against the all-or-nothing trap, where missing one session makes you feel like you failed entirely. In reality, missing a day or falling short by a little doesn't undo your progress. Consistency isn't about being flawless. It's about showing up repeatedly and letting your focus on the process guide you. More often than not, adopting consistency often requires building habits that support your goals. If your aim is to stay physically active, consider scheduling exercise at the same time each day or week so there's no guesswork. If you're developing mental toughness, maybe you integrate a few minutes of reflective writing or mental practice into your morning or bedtime routine. These regular slots turn your aspirations into part of your everyday rhythm. Over time, you move from having to muster willpower each session to doing it almost on autopilot. That shift frees up mental energy for refining your skills or pushing a bit harder instead of constantly battling yourself about whether you'll get started in the first place. Pacing yourself is important here. In the early days of a new routine, enthusiasm can lead you to go all out, long workouts, strict schedules, lofty commitments. But if you aren't used to that intensity, you can hit a wall swiftly, risking burnout or injury. A better approach is to pick a level of challenge that stretches you but remains feasible. This way, you can keep doing it not just this week or this month, but for many months to come. Whenever you sense you could handle more, you inch the difficulty up. That slow increase in demands helps you adapt steadily, building strength in a sustainable way, physically and mentally. It's the difference between a flash in the pan and a steady flame that warms you for the long haul. There's a solid case for tracking your consistency in a simple way, maybe checking a calendar or keeping a brief log of what you did daily. Seeing those marks add up provides tangible proof that you're making an effort, even if you don't see huge transformations right away. It can be a motivator when you're tempted to skip. You might think, "I don't want to break my streak," which nudges you to do at least a modest version of whatever activity you'd planned. Over time, that log becomes a kind of success story, capturing all the small moments that might otherwise slip your mind. You start to see patterns, like which days you feel strongest or how your mood shifts when you stay consistent, and that awareness can guide future improvements. Consistency ties closely to adaptability. When life changes, like a new job, an injury, or a family event, you might have to adjust your routine. That doesn't mean you abandon consistency. It means you find a version that fits your new reality. If you hurt your ankle, maybe you switch to exercises that focus on your upper body until it heals. If a big work project demands extra hours, you shift to shorter but still regular practices. The point is, you keep the spirit of showing up intact, even if the form changes. This adaptability is a hallmark of true resilience, and an indicator that you're building a strength that doesn't collapse at the first sign of trouble. You're honoring the underlying principle, regular engagement with your goals, rather than getting stuck on a single method. It's natural to have days when you question if any of this is making a difference. The changes might feel too gradual or too subtle, but consider how a plant grows from day to day. You can hardly notice it, yet over weeks and months, there's a visible transformation. Consistent action works the same way, especially in areas like physical fitness and mental development. You might think you're stuck in place until one day you realize that an activity you used to struggle with is now second nature, or a stressful scenario that used to rattle you feels more manageable. That's the fruit of your repeated efforts. It helps to define what success looks like in a consistent plan. Is it a certain number of sessions each week? Is it a minimal duration each time, even if you do more on good days? Maybe you aim for consistency in mindset, like catching negative thoughts quickly and replacing them with more constructive ones. When you have a clear idea of your baseline goals, you reduce uncertainty. You can say, I've done what I set out to do, which builds confidence and frees you from self-doubt. And if you surpass that baseline on a day you feel extra strong or focused, that's a bonus but not a requirement. In that sense, your consistency plan works as a safety net, keeping you from falling into a cycle of doing nothing just because you can't do everything perfectly. Consistency teaches patience, a vital aspect of mental strength. When you commit to a steady path, you learn to expect results in time rather than overnight. This fosters a calmer approach to setbacks. If you're not obsessed with immediate leaps, then a slight plateau or a rough week doesn't feel like a catastrophe. You see it for what it is, a temporary dip in a larger trend of gradual improvement. That patience can spill over into other areas of life too, like relationships and career goals, where sometimes you have to play the long game. And because you're not constantly looking for quick fixes, you're more likely to stick with methods that have real staying power. People who practice consistent effort often discover a quiet confidence. It's not the flashy kind that shouts about achievements from the rooftops. Rather, it's a steady self-assurance that grows from knowing you've kept your promises to yourself day in and day out. You might find you stand a bit taller, speak with more conviction, or handle pressure with greater ease. That's because you're no longer living in a cycle of big plans followed by fizzling out. Instead, you're living in a state of alignment between what you say you'll do and what you actually do. That alignment is fertile ground for both physical and mental empowerment. This process will likely reveal some personal patterns. You may realize that your energy naturally dips on certain days, or that certain triggers like lack of sleep or unresolved stress disrupt your routine. Observing these patterns equips you to plan around them, whether it's adjusting your bedtime or sorting out emotional tension before it derails you. Each time you solve a small hiccup, you refine your approach, making your consistency stronger and more adaptable. Eventually, the routine becomes so ingrained that you'll feel off balance if you miss a day, much like skipping a meal when you're used to eating regularly. Staying consistent helps you face bigger tests that pop up. When a major challenge arrives, an intense job situation, a health scare, or a personal crisis, you have the underlying structure of your habits to lean on. Even if you scale back temporarily, you won't lose your footing entirely because that habit of showing up is part of who you are. It can be comforting to realize that in tough times, you can rely on the basic routines you've built, like a short series of stretches or a brief mental break, to keep you steady. That's the real strength consistency offers. It's there for you when life isn't easy or simple. If you ever feel that your routine has grown stale, give it a small refresh. Maybe tweak an exercise, explore a new outdoor route, or switch the order of your tasks. The idea is to preserve the heart of your consistent practice, showing up regularly, while allowing for slight changes to keep it interesting and aligned with your progress. You don't need a complete overhaul, just enough variety to keep your mind engaged. That way, you avoid boredom and remain open to growth. Over the course of months or years, you'll look back and see how many layers of skill or fitness you've built, all on the foundation of plain old showing up. By weaving consistency into the fabric of your life, you create the conditions for steady gains in physical capacity and mental resilience. It's an approach that champions patient progress over quick results and relies on discipline rather than bursts of inspiration. In doing so, you become the sort of person who can handle adversity with composure and keep forging ahead when the initial excitement is worn off. Ultimately, that brand of durable strength becomes a hallmark of who you are, a trait that benefits not only your pursuits in fitness or personal development, but your broader journey through life's unpredictable twists and turns. Momentum grows each time you decide to stay on track, and every small triumph carries you closer to a life where both body and mind feel stronger and more capable. The biggest shifts often appear quietly. One day, you realize you're tackling things that used to leave you intimidated, or you're feeling an ease in your step that wasn't there a few weeks back. Along the way, you learn that genuine resilience isn't about sweeping changes overnight. It's about day-by-day effort and the willingness to learn from both stumbles and successes. A person who commits to this path tends to carry themselves differently because they know they're building a solid foundation rather than hopping from one quick fix to the next. Even if an unexpected curveball comes your way, you have these core practices and beliefs to fall back on, offering stability when things around you feel uncertain. The process itself shapes your perspective, encouraging you to see opportunities for growth where others see dead ends. Spending the time to cultivate these habits eventually pays off in the form of real, lasting strength, something you can rely on in good times and bad. That strength isn't flashy or bragging, it's the steady confidence that comes from trusting your own actions. Whether you're pushing through a workout, managing a tough conversation, or stepping into an unfamiliar challenge, you can draw on the structure and mindset you've built day after day. The result is an ongoing journey that invites you to keep discovering new levels of physical stamina and mental clarity, fueled by the steady momentum of your own commitment.